Hey guys, Joe with DIY Cold Plunge, and today I want to show you how to insulate the plumbing on your cold plunge. We do this to help limit condensation in the warmer months, and in the winter this can hopefully help your pipes from freezing up. If you're new here, I'm all about building a cold plunge yourself and saving thousands of dollars. There's a ton of free resources on this channel. My site has plans and products to help you along the way, but enough about that, let's get into the video. So really quick, here's a breakdown of everything we'll need. First is the condensation sleeve for the filter housing. This just slips right on, pretty simple. To insulate the pipes and the rest of the plumbing, we will be using this foam pipe insulation. So you will either need to buy these prefabricated tees, and these are sized to house 1-inch PVC pipe. You might be asking why we need 1 inch when we have 3/4 inch pipe on our project, and that is because this will fit the outer diameter of all the tees and elbows on your build. To insulate the pipes, you'll need the foam pipe insulation that is sized for 3/4 of an inch. Pretty simple. You'll need a retractable utility blade to cut. It's always nice to have a Sharpie to mark things, tape measure to measure things, and then if you choose not to buy the prefab tees and elbows, we can make these on our own. And to do that, you'll need this adhesive, which I'll link below, and you'll just need some tape to tape it together to have it set up. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're not gonna buy the prefab tees or elbows, we're gonna need to make those now. Before we dive into that, it is worth noting that these pipe insulation tubes come in 2 variations. One has the built-in adhesive, and the other just splits apart, and you'll have to add adhesive later. Just out of convenience, I recommend using the one with the built-in adhesive. First, I'll show you how to assemble a tee, and I'll build these oversized because we'll trim them down later, and I'll cut this. Then I'm going to cut another piece that is 3 inches long. So we have 2 pieces here. This one's 5.5, this one is 3. From here, we want to cut a notch out in the middle. So with the seam facing up like this, we will cut a 45-degree angle this way and a 45-degree angle this way. Then you can get rid of that. And then with your seam again facing up like that, we're gonna cut a 45-degree angle this way and a 45-degree angle the other way. So with the seams both facing up, these are the pieces that will come together to make our tee. So we've got that cut out. Now we'll cut up an elbow. And as always, I recommend making these oversized. So this is roughly a 6-inch piece. So with your seam facing up, I'm gonna kind of flatten this here. So I've marked 1 inch on each side of that seam. Now what we'll want to do here is cut a 45-degree angle this way and this way. And then on the back side, you can find that 1-inch mark, and that will be the point of that angle going this way, and you can cut. So you'll cut out that piece like that. From here, you can see it's not perfect, so if you want to try to fine tune some of this, you can. But a cut like this is what's going to make your 45-degree elbow work. If once you start folding these, your elbows aren't exactly perfect, you can go in bit by bit and trim off until everything lines up the way you want it to. And so I'm pretty happy with what that is there. Just to review, these are your 2 pieces that will come together to make your tee, and this is what your 1-piece cutout looks like to make your elbow. Now grab your adhesive and your tape, and we will assemble these together. So I found that this stuff is very messy, so just put down some cardboard on your work area. So I'm just going around and putting a nice coating on every surface that we cut. Like I said, it gets a little messy, so just take your time and make sure you get everything sufficiently coated. Once you've got everything like that, you will simply fold these together, and you can clean up any excess with just a paper towel. And once you've done that, go in and set up some tape just to help keep this secure. So there we go. Then we'll do the same thing with the pieces for the tee. So just paint on the adhesive. And then for the tee, it's important that you line up those seams so they're both on the top side, and add some tape to help keep everything in place. As you tape this, make sure you push everything together so all of those seams are nice and tight. And then add your tape just to help keep it secure. That's how you do this. These will need to dry for 36 hours before they can be used. So depending on your comfort level with working with that and what I just showed you, you may be better off buying these pre-assembled. Totally your call. So now you'll dive into insulating this as you see here. One thing to note is I wish I would have flipped my tees the other way. These have the seams on the front side. So as you're going through the tutorial, you can keep that in mind. If you want a cleaner look like this, just make sure that you flip your tees the other way. To demo how to insulate the plumbing, I'm going to be using this filtration and sanitation system. This system obviously has tees, elbows, the Venturi injector, some straight pipe, and an elbow back into the tank. So this overall should give you a good idea of how to insulate the rest of your plumbing system. To get started, the easy part will be adding an insulation sleeve to your filter housing. You can get this obviously at DIYcoldplunge.com, and it slides on just like that. And to start with, I'm going to insulate this Spa Hose hose and venturi injector. So you'll take the insulation that's sized for 3/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to line it up on the edge of that elbow on both sides, and I will cut to fit right like that. Then what I'll do is just kind of dry fit this in place right here and squeeze that nice and close to kind of mark where that venturi injector is going to poke out. And then I'm just gonna cut a spot for that to stick out. You can be as precise as you want to with that, but this is what I'm looking at for this step in the process. Next, I'll insulate this straight line of spa hose, and I'll do the same thing from the edge of this elbow to the edge of this T. So we're at an edge there, and then here, I'm just going to refine what I've cut there, being careful not to damage the PVC pipe. So it's better to cut it a little longer and have to refine it than cut it too short and be SOL. So there we go, easy part's done. Now we'll move on to using the prefabricated T's and elbows. And I'm just gonna start with this PVC T. So I'm lining this up centered with the PVC pipe, and we're gonna have to trim off a decent amount of this T. So again, I'm just kind of eyeballing, and I'm erring on the side of cutting too little. Once you've trimmed off that side, we're gonna go in and trim off a little bit over here. And you want to give your union a little bit of wiggle room back and forth. So we're looking like that. Next, I'll line up the elbow and figure out how much I need to trim off for that. And here, all I'm looking for is butting right up to the edge of the filter housing and having everything centered that way. Because the filter bypasses right here, I'm gonna cut this kind of at an angle here just to allow access like so. So when that attaches, the filter will still be able to go back and forth that way. We want to trim the elbow and the T so they line up and play really well together. I'm just gonna cut this T almost straight down. So the only part of the elbow really that is sticking up is just the curve. So you can roughly position that in there like that, and then we'll get to trimming the T. And honestly, in this case, we're almost gonna do the same thing where we trim this T all the way down. Then we can dry fit and attach everything the same way. So there we go. Again, there's a little bit of play at the union. Our T is all trimmed up so it sits flush with the straight pipe that we insulated and the elbow on this side of the filter housing. Then we're just gonna move over to the other side and do the same thing. So starting with just trimming the elbow, we can go ahead and dry fit that in, and then we'll trim up our T on both sides. And last is cut the top of the T here. I'm gonna cut a little less than I maybe need so I can refine it later if needed. And so with that T all trimmed up, we'll go ahead and dry fit it. And this all looks fine, except for I've got too much insulation on this side of the T. So with this dry fit in place, I'm just gonna carefully cut the extra off. At this point, things are looking pretty good. I still wanna go back and do this elbow, but for now, I'm gonna go ahead and remove all of these tabs so these can stick together. And there we go. The last thing is to add the elbow over here, and we'll do that the same way just by trimming, dry fitting, and attaching. And when all is said and done, this is basically what we're looking at. So there you go, guys. I hope that was helpful. If you'd be so kind as to subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. But that's it for now. We'll see you at the next video.